Well, what does it say when less than 3% of federal workers want to join Obamacare? Why Dr. Ben Carson says, well, it says that this thing is done now. Time to pull the plug on it now. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. At a survey of federal workers showing just 3% want to even join these so-called new healthcare exchanges. All this as unions that once demanded it now despise it. And Congress and their staffers are getting special exemptions from it. To Dr. Ben Carson, who predicted this thing would be a mess. But, Doctor, this is a bigger mess than even, I think, maybe you thought, but maybe exactly as you thought. What's going on here?
Well, it's pretty awful. You know, the people in the IRS don't want any part of it either. It's sort of like you're walking down the street and you see a bunch of people running out of a building, and there's a shadowy figure there saying, hey, come on in here. I think because people are seeing what's going on.
Right.
They're opting not to. But, you know, what's really kind of interesting is, you know, the president loves to talk about the fact that with this bill, there'll be no lifetime limits on the amount of money that can be paid by insurance companies, that you can stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26. Pre-existing diseases will not preclude you from getting insurance. But, you know, I agree with that. I think most people would agree with that.
Well, I guess it depends, Doctor, if you like your kid, but I digress. Go ahead.
Well, you know, it's the other hundreds of things in the bill that people don't like. He never talks about those. And he talks about the fact that the Republicans want 30 million people not to have insurance. This is what's known as demagoguery. I hope everybody will look that word up. It means appealing to the prejudices and emotions of people. You know, this classical politician stuff. This is what we don't need in our country anymore. We need people who really are interested in solving problems, not just trying to get the upper hand in a political fight.
Well, I think it would go back to what you said right at the outset, Doctor, and that is if it's so good, then those who are closest to it would want all in on it. And they're not. 97% of federal workers don't want anything to do with it. Congress that wants to be exempted from it. Including unions that don't even want to be part of it. So obviously something is changing.
Even the IRS.
Right. So what's going on here?
Who's supposed to be put in charge of enforcement? You know, the fact that we would even be talking about putting the IRS in charge after the things that they've been noted to do, is there anything that even resembles common sense that's left in our country anymore? You know, I think maybe we just need to go out and find some farmers and plumbers and policemen and put them in charge. I think they would come up with things that made more sense. You know,
though, I'm going to address this later in the show, Doctor, but you brought up a good example of everyone's running out of the store and the store owners say, hey, come in, everything's fine. To me, you know, relating it in restaurant terms, it'd be like the restaurant owner who sure as heck won't eat his food, but he'll happily foist it on you. That's telling me something there. The owner isn't liking the stuff. Congress doesn't want anything to do with this stuff. Federal workers, more than 9 out of 10 of them want to be as far away as they can from this stuff. I think the American public can rightly assume, wait a minute, we swallow this, we're the ones getting stuff.
Well, if maybe the people who are pushing this could just step back for half a second, swallow their pride, say, you know what, can we do something else? I think everybody else would be willing to join them. I don't think we're going to be having big demonstrations saying, see, you were wrong and we were right. I think we're bigger than that, and we can go ahead and solve this problem like rational human beings.
Do you think, Doctor, though, you mentioned what the president said about what Republicans are defining themselves and what they're against, that they want to deny health care to 30 million Americans. You reframed it in an interesting way that we can't be for something that upends our healthcare system. I think that's the gist of what you were kind of get at here, that
right.
Whatever the attempt to get healthcare in the hands of those who don't have it, you can't upend what is arguably, or was arguably, the world's finest healthcare system to do it. There's got to be a better way. So Republicans have not found a way to say that. What do they risk if they don't, if they can't?
Well, they will be able to say it because you know, there are a number of ideals out there for anybody to see. The health savings accounts work extremely well. You look at the medical savings account system in Singapore and how well that works. We can easily do these things with much less money than we're spending now. And, you know, I've talked to a number of members of the healthcare caucus in Congress, and there's some very smart people there. And they will put something together along with those of us in the medical profession and other interested people. We're going to get this done. This is not a battle between Republicans and Democrats and independents. We're talking about the health care of the American populace. Somehow, I would appeal to people to stop listening to the demagoguery and start listening to logic.
It'll come back to Republicans want to torpedo this but have nothing in its place. Should Republicans then have something in its place, or a stripped down, simpler version ready to go before they're keen on defunding this thing now? What would you recommend?
Well, I think we already have, and when I say we, I'm talking about those of us who are interested in solving this problem.
Right.
Already have something that's ready to go. And, you know, I don't think it's wise to take it and put it out there right now, because then all of the energy will go to trying to destroy that. And I think we really need to be focused on finding a way to, unfortunately, de-teeth the Obamacare.
Right, I hear you.
So that we stop hurting the American people. You know, we need to be talking about making progress. You know, this is only a small part of the problem, but it's a big part of the economic situation that we find ourselves in, because it's having an enormously detrimental effect on hiring. You know, the largest number of jobs are now part-time jobs. 70% of the new jobs, part-time jobs. This is not beneficial to our economy. And even if you know, the people who want big government were smart, they would realize that if we do the kinds of things that grow the economy, they'd actually have more money than they have now.
You're right. And by the way, those
part-time programs.
No, you're right. Those part-time workers, by the way, would not be eligible for health care under the present system, the way things stand. Doctor, good having you again.
Always good to be with you, Neil.